kid's been playing, man, I don't think there's anybody else that I would love to see more than him to get it. He deserves it. He's earned it.
Well, here we are at the Southbound and Down podcast. We are ready to talk some NFC South football tonight. It is going to be a very good show for those of you who tuned in. Real quickly, we are affiliated with CarolinaCatChronicles.com. That is our parent company, and we are a production of Fan First Productions. Our sister podcast is on Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. It is the C3 podcast where we cover solely the Panthers. Tonight's panel, same guys that we all have gotten to know and love. I'm going to introduce here, give them a chance to plug themselves. Aaron Freeman. Let people know where they can find you on Twitter and find your own podcast that you do.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at FalcFans. People can find, I got 2 podcasts that are out. You can find Falcon Central Radio. I do that one with Scott Karasik, who writes for the Falcoholic. You can check that out on YouTube or ProFootballCentral.com. And I do another one with the Falcoholic with somebody else that works for the Falcoholic, Alan Stirk. You can find that at the Falcoholic or FalcFans.com.
Very good. Those are 2 really good shows as well. If you're a Falcons fan, you definitely want to catch them. Gene, it's good to have you on. The show, I think, is just that much better when you're able to make it. Let people know where they can find you. And I know you did your podcast, I think, last night.
Yeah, I did because we have a short week. We do have the Thursday night football game, so
Right.
I did want to kind of touch on the loss that we suffered on Sunday and talk a little bit about the game coming up on Thursday with the St. Louis Rams. But you can reach me at Super Heavyweight. Please feel free to follow me, and I'll follow back. I love to talk football, and bring your passion. I enjoy that. And I do have a podcast, Buck What You Heard. I've really been trying to get consistent about doing it on Tuesdays, so that's what you have to look forward to.
Very good. And Gene does a really good job. If you're a Bucs fan, it's definitely worth taking the time to listen to his podcast while you're jogging, exercising, whatever you may be doing at the time. He does a great job. Gene, Greg, you are next on the list. Let people know where they can find you.
You can find me at IntenseGB on Twitter. Like I said, I'm always around all the time. Here to talk football, wrestling, basketball, whatever you want to talk.
Monster trucks.
Breeze, whatever, Anyway, I do write for Cat Chronicles as far as doing their rankings and also reviewing, doing a little rundown on the AFC North. And, maybe eventually I'll go ahead and do a Saints podcast, apparently, because I got to join the company here and get a podcast going. I just try to because I know me, I'll stroke out, getting mad and stuff and everything like that. It'll get bad. So, it might not be suitable for anybody under 21.
Right. We may have to put a NC-17 rating on that.
Yeah, you're going to need a rating on that one unless you want your kids to learn a new language.
And we also have the money man himself, the man who will tell you no lie, Mr. Straight Facts. What's going on?
What's up, man? The way to reach me, Twitter is TMuhammad23, and the YouTube is Mr. T Money 1993. My Giants Hate Week video should be up probably tomorrow.
All right, folks. That's something I look forward to every week, is seeing this hate video for whoever the Panthers are playing. And I encourage you to check it out. Definitely not suitable for work. But it is very entertaining. Very entertaining. So what we've got in store tonight, folks, is our typical review of the past week's game, what we've got to look forward to in the upcoming week. But we're also doing I threw a little curveball in tonight and asked the guys to kind of come up with a player who they think might be an MVP candidate just for our division amongst our 4 teams. Obviously, Cam Newton is the low-hanging fruit, the guy that most people would think qualify for an award like that. But I'm trying to find somebody else who they might think is deserving. And I think we're going to go ahead and start the show with this, guys. So, Aaron, just going alphabetically from cities, I will go with you and let you start, okay?
Well, I was hoping I was going to go last, just because I figured, if Cam is taken off the board, then I have to pick like one of three Panthers defenders, and I was hoping that somebody else would pick a couple of these guys, and then I just take the third guy. But if I'm going to pick one, I'll go with Josh Norman. I think he's really emerged as a difference maker on that defense. His ability to go in and week out and basically take away his side of the field is a real big boost. We've always known that the Panthers were great at linebacker. They're great at up front, and their secondary has consistently gotten better these last couple of years. And I think a big part of that is because Josh Norman can go out there and check pretty much any number one receiver out there and take care of business. And that's really going to be a huge boost for the Panthers as they get into the postseason with some of the matchups they'll be facing. So I'll go with Josh Norman.
I think that's a great pick personally. I would say he would be the immediate second candidate. And I have this question later on in the show, but I can go ahead and ask it now since you were the first to bring him up. Is he a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year? Is he? And I'm just asking that sort of rhetorically, because of how valuable he is to the team, what he has been able to accomplish on the field, and how, because of his play, the receivers are affected, and at the same time, the quarterback is affected. He's affecting two positions, and he's only one person. So I think there's a chance that he could be considered for that. Next would be Carolina. So today, I know you want to go with Cam, and really, if you want to be honest about it, he should be the choice. But just to make it fun, we're trying to pick somebody other than Cam Newton.
If Cam and Norman was taken off the board,
yes,
I go Kawan Short.
That's somebody I was thinking about too. He's young. This is only his third year in the league, and he is making big impacts.
Yeah, he's always been a guy who's got the pressures and the quarterback hits, but he just wasn't getting the sacks. And then this year, I think he's at 9 now?
9 sacks for a defensive tackle.
Yeah, and
he broke the team record for most sacks in a season at that position, and he is just making a difference. He's
really defensive tackle wise is Aaron Donald, and then it's Kawan Short. I know
right.
He's a number 4.
Donald's pretty bad now.
He's a bad man. Yes, he is. He is. But
Donald.
I really like the fact that KK doesn't just eat up blockers. He gets in there and he's disruptive. He's sort of an interior version of J.J. Watt, how he gets in the backfield and things just go crazy when he gets in there. Whether it's a fourth, him knocking the ball loose from the quarterback taking a big sack, him making a tackle for a loss. Something big happens when he gets back there. So I think that's a great pick. Next, so Jano, KK, and next would be Greg, you're next. New Orleans.
Ooh, I'm gonna say because it seems like right now everybody's picking all Panthers.
Right. I didn't want that either.
Don't get me wrong, deservedly so. Because I can go Luke Kuechly, I can go Thomas Day.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? I definitely go with those guys. I'm gonna go on this one. I'm gonna go against the grain a little bit. I'm gonna put Doug Martin. Because I think
great call.
I think he kind of revived his career a lot back with this. You know what I'm saying? He played very well. And I'm putting him. And don't get me wrong, he's probably lower on the list if you were to really name up and stack guys up.
Right.
But I thought he played very well. I think he was a real big part of the reason why even Tampa Bay has won as many games as they have this year. I think he's a bigger part, but a little unsung because a lot of it, everybody talks about Winston and Cutter a lot more. But I think Doug Martin is kind of that catalyst in a sense that helped them get where they are now. Get this close to the playoff picture. But
I agree. I think that's sort of a dark horse pick because
it's more of a dark horse pick, right? Exactly. It is more of a dark horse pick because don't get me wrong, I could easily name Luke Kuechly like a name like Steve Davis, and I mean, like, who's going to argue with me that those two guys are?
I personally like the Doug Martin pick just because of what he's done. He's been given an opportunity, and he has made the absolute most of it.
Right. Yeah.
And a lot of the time when they've gotten away from running him, they struggled.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. That's what I'm saying.
So if they would have kept doing it all year long and been very consistent, he would have had a fantastic year, and the team would have done better, I believe.
Just last week, they only ran him, 11 times?
Yeah, something like that.
And look what it turned out for him.
Yeah. Exactly. That's something I think.
But can I speak on that 11 times? As far as the Buccaneers underutilizing him, you have to look at the game as a whole. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers only had 51 plays in that game.
Yeah, they did.
So what you have to look at, the field position, the time on the clock. And there are multiple facets as to why they only ran him 11 times, because they didn't have the ability to run him more often. They were 3 and out a bunch of times, and they never got the chance to. So basically, so basically, what you have, I realize they only ran him 11 times, but when you're looking at field position and game planning, that's what you've come up with is 11 times. It kind of makes sense the way that they were scheming to try to win the game.
Well, my question is, I guess, twofold. Number one, why do they only, if they're getting so many 3 and outs, they need to be running him more, maybe, just to be able to, hold on to the clock some.
Stupid penalties. You have to consider the stupid penalties they were getting that put them out of position to run the ball, where they had to pass to get more yards. So there are a lot of different factors as to why. I don't think they intentionally said, let's not run him, let's rest him. The one play where they scored the touchdown, he got the big run, and he was part of that scoring drive, but, I mean, they didn't have to use him that much.
Right.
But, towards the end of the game where you're down and you've got bad field position and you're trying to score, I mean, there's only so much you can do. You do need to get the ball down the field in a hurry and try to get get the other team's offense off the field and get the ball back. So there's a reasoning. I understand why it was only 11 times. It's just a lot of different factors that went into that.
But do you think they could have possibly maybe threw the ball to him a couple times here and there, short passes, allow him to?
They don't really need him for the pass.
Get a one-on-one situation, see if he can break something or whatever. I think
Charles Sims is the guy that they have identified as your catch out of the backfield back. Yeah, and he's that change of pace back.
Yes.
And you've got Vincent Jackson. You've got
he's out for the rest of the season.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you got Evans, Seraphin Jenkins. You've got these big guys.
They closed Evans out of that game. Evans didn't get much of anything. I think he caught 3 passes in that game.
Yeah. But for me, I guess my MVP, and I know you guys are going to crucify me for this one, Drew Brees. When everybody at the beginning of the season was saying Drew Brees was dead in the water, I mean, he's been lighting a few teams up. He took Carolina to the limit. I mean, you guys have to admit the way he played admirably, and he kept the Saints in that game against Carolina. So I guess to me, he would be my guy. That I mean, especially the way he's come back from this adversity and showed that he can still win games.
Yeah, he's always my guy, but I wasn't picking him because he was a homer.
Which would have been fine.
I wasn't going home.
Because you took my pick. Because you took my pick, and I had to scramble back to get another one.
I like you.
I didn't realize that was your pick, dude. I really did. Because I don't get me wrong, because But I felt like Doug Martin stood out to me this year as somebody
Absolutely.
who did play well and everything like that. And that's why that's one reason I picked him, because I mean it's usually he can get lost in the shuffle.
Right.
I have two. I have two that I want to talk about, but I know you can only pick one. So I'm going to talk about the one I don't pick first, because I think he came in with a lot of doubters and a huge amount of question marks and has really played his tail off. Is no, well, not him, even though he would be a good candidate, Michael Oher.
Yes.
The offensive tackle. He came in and really solidified that left tackle position for the Panthers, because it was a gigantic question mark. And even people, who had high hopes still weren't sure if he was going to be able to come in and fill that spot. But he did, and he's done a very, very good job of playing left tackle. So he's the one I was thinking, but I'm actually going to go with Jameis Winston. And I know he's had some bad games. Okay, he has, but he's a rookie.
Yeah.
But to see him progress from week 1 to where he's at now in week 14 is an amazing amount of growth. And how he's just sort of taken over the leadership role on that team. He's come in and nobody's questioned it. Nobody's been like, "Who are you to tell to come in and act like you run this place?" Well, that's what the quarterback's supposed to do: come in and take charge and be responsible. And
With respect to the
I think because of that, how well he's improved his play over the course of the year and been the leader, he should be considered for an MVP.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the quarterback situation on the 2-win season last season. You had Josh McCown and you had Mike Glennon. Both guys came in and really didn't get the job done. And I mean, Jameis Winston was the guy that ended the drought. I mean, we had what was it, like 7 seasons we didn't beat the Saints, 7 seasons in a row or something like that. And he came in. He's been playing better week in and week out. And I think, what did they say? He's like the youngest NFL quarterback, youngest rookie quarterback to get to 3,000 yards.
Wow, I haven't heard that. That's really, there again, that speaks to his ability and just being able to transition from playing college ball to pro football. And that's a huge leap, when you make that move. So I think, again, he would be like a dark horse candidate, but one that I would like. And I was just trying to throw something in a little different in tonight's show. Now we're actually going to get to the thick of things. We're going to get into last week's football, and I want to start with the New Orleans-Tampa Bay game. Tampa did have a chance to be in the playoffs with a win here, or stay in the playoff picture, I guess I should say. But the Saints came to play spoiler in Tampa, and they succeeded.
Yeah.
Breeze to Snead looked like it was a problem, and Hightower toted the rock 28 times. He only gained 85, 84 yards, but that's not what was important. What was important was the fact that they were holding on to the ball, eating up time, keeping the Tampa offense off the field. And when you run the ball that well, it opens things up for Drew Brees to get you over the top, play action pass, that sort of thing. In my opinion, this is what the Saints should have been doing all year. If they would have played like this all year, it would have been a different outcome. They would have had a better record. What's your take on the game, Greg? What was your perspective on how the Saints played?
Well, I mean, I thought they were solid, really, on both sides of the ball, really. I thought they played very well on offense and also defense, too. They had good game plans going in on both sides of the ball as well. Because Drew kind of was using a little bit of a hurry-up offense to a point, kind of just getting out there and getting quick passes and things like that, and just kind of I felt like they were keeping Tampa a little bit off balance, and they were really just kind of driving the ball down the field and making plays and everything, especially with Hightower coming in such a big role, especially talking about being out of the league for 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
everything like that. They came out there and just, ran very well. 85 yards, but they were 85 really good yards, hard, they ate up some clock and just did what they needed to do with them. And he did, and, the receivers, Snead was fantastic in that game. He played very well.
Right. Yeah, 128 yards, I think, or something like that, on 7 receptions.
Yeah, and then, of course, I felt like, Ben Watson, everybody kind of contributed. He threw to several different receivers. And
Yeah.
everybody, made plays when they needed it. And they got what they needed when they needed them,
Right.
But, Snead definitely stood out. Snead and Hightower probably were the two that really stood out on the offense overall.
Right.
And, of course, Breeze, because, he pretty much orchestrated everything.
Yeah, 300-plus yards.
10 or 12 yards. And
Yeah.
only 10 incompletions in that game.
Right. He looked like he was on the money. And, Gene, I know the Bucs have been having secondary issues all season long. Was this just a continuation of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw a lot of penalties that were drive killers. And you've heard me gripe about this all season long. This has been the Achilles for the Buccaneers for years. Going back to Raheem Morris even. Buccaneers and penalties, if you go back historically and look at the number of penalties that the team has gotten, it's just been a continuation. I think as we progress and get the right personnel in place, I think that'll either taper itself off or they'll find a way to overcome and learn how to win games. This is a young Buccaneers team that's, once again, they're trying to learn how to win games. They've been in having such a losing culture for such a long period of time. I'm not making excuses, but this is just kind of what I've seen. With the old regime here, it was just no big deal. We lost a game. Let's go to the next game. But you have people that want to win. You have the Quan Alexanders. You have the Jameis Winstons out there that really want to win these games, and they go out and they try to execute and do this. What I saw was a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that came in very flat.
Yes.
And I don't question why, anybody's heart or anything like that. But when I talk about learning how to win, you can't come into a game and just expect to win. You have to go in there and punch the other team in the mouth and get those takeaways and play disciplined football. And that's not what I saw. I just saw a team that was very flat, and they didn't move the ball like they really should have or like they're capable of doing.
Could I ask you a question? Because it was funny because I was listening to the game on the radio on the way. Because what it was, I didn't go to the game. I actually went to a friend's house, and 3 of us hung out instead of going to the game. And we hung out at his place. But on the way there, I was listening to the radio. And it's funny that and don't get me wrong, it was facts. But they kept stressing, the announcers kept stressing, the Saints were the worst defense in the league. The Saints were the worst defense in the league. I wonder if that was permeating into the Bucs head at a point, that they felt like that, you know what I mean?
Because this is the same thing you saw against the Indianapolis Colts, a team that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should have beaten. But they were handled on that day as well.
Right, and because you got to think about the Saints defense. The Bucs actually probably wouldn't even score what they scored, the 17 points they scored, if the Saints didn't make a couple penalties that kept their drives alive. They had one penalty that was unnecessary roughness on Kenny the one from number 24. Why his name slips me? Kyle Wilson. Kyle Wilson. He has a one that, and it was 4th down. It was going to be 4th down, and he turns around and has an unnecessary roughness penalty that kept their drive alive. Then he gets another one, and then Brown. They literally could have shut them out. They literally could have shut Tampa out without the penalties. The penalties is the only thing that kept those guys alive. The defense actually really played a lot better than what even what the score indicated. And I just think that when you were saying that they came in out there and came out flat, thinking that they probably, because it was the worst defense, because it is known as the worst defense in the league and all that, and maybe they thought it was going to be a little easy. You know, you saw what Mariota did, you saw what Cousins did, and it's just, you know, maybe they just didn't expect that.
Yeah, most definitely. And for me, I look at a lot at the scheme. I don't know if you realize this, but it looks like 54% of the plays that the Bucks were on defense, that was nickel. That was all nickel. And where I've seen the Bucks when they're aggressive, when they're playing man-to-man, Lovie Smith is trusting the defense to do what they need to do. They've always done well, or not always, but the majority of the time they've done well. But when they get in this soft coverage, the quarterbacks light them up with the short passes, and they just pretty much control the game going all the way down the field because they can get those passes off at will, and that's kind of what we saw as well. So what we're working with the personnel. The Bucks are working with the personnel that they have, but I'm sure that you'll definitely see improvements or upgrades in different positions as we go along. And one last thing I did want to mention with Quan Alexander serving that suspension right now, you could tell a big difference, almost night and day, from him being in the game to him not being in the game. So, it really shows you what an important part that this rookie middle linebacker is to this team.
How valuable he is already.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to throw this out there. While we were talking about MVPs for, the division, Spoonie, 13-0, at Spoonie2412, said Matt Ryan was the MVP for the Panthers this season.
Oh my God!
And I thought that was pretty good. I just wanted to share that with you guys. Right. I guess that was very good. What I want to mention next is this. Okay, now both of you guys are beyond looking at the postseason, so you're going to be basically seeing who's going to still continue to play, put forth that effort to be on the team for next year. But I guess I'll start with you, Greg, or Gene, and see what Tampa, what moves are they going to make to improve?
They need an edge rusher. They need a consistent edge rusher. They've got guys that kind of fill in, but they've just do not have that guy on the edge that can get to the quarterback or even pressure the quarterback. And we haven't had that, to be honest, since Simeon Rice. And we've had guys that have come in, and I mean, if you think about it historically, all the way up from the Gruden era all the way up to now, can you name a Buccaneer who has been that edge threat to the offense of the other team?
No.
Yeah, so that's kind of where they need to really look at. I think they're good with linebacker. I think they may make some tweaks here. The secondary would be another position that I would consider as well. And last but not least, I love Vincent Jackson. That's my guy. I love what he's doing with the community in Tampa. But it's one of those things where you really need to start looking at somebody to groom to replace him to, that would be able to just come in and get those possession yards that you need.
See, I wouldn't say y'all need to replace him. If I was y'all, I would say more a slot receiver.
Yeah, the guy we had Lewis Murphy, who ended up with an ACL injury.
Yeah.
He was playing good. I know you might not think
Former
so.
Panther.
Yeah. He was actually doing pretty decent when he did get that injury. So that's somebody that Lovie Smith, and how he is about his team. That's somebody I'm sure that he will bring back in. There may be competition, but I'm sure that they'll try to get him back in the offense. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to get another chance. I think that's true. I think you do need somebody in the middle of the field other than the tight end. He'll get a chance. Jenkins will get a chance to get healthy and be back next year. Definitely an edge rusher because you've drafted them, but they've been busts.
Yeah.
You got two from Clemson, and they both turned out to be garbage.
And we thought Adrian Claiborne was going to be good, but I mean, he's not the answer. The guy is not the answer. I'm sorry. And then we let him go, and that was just. There you go. That's another first-round draft pick. And
then Michael Johnson, you guys paid him a ton of dough, and he came in and really was hurt most of that year. And now he's back in Cincinnati, and I think he's got like 7 sacks or something like that.
Yeah, he's balling. He's balling in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And he's still. I think the Bucks are still paying him.
They
some guys, the thing about it, some guys can play. Some guys just play for a particular system, a particular coach.
Yeah, totally.
And they're a 3-4. They're a 3-4 defense, right?
Huh?
Cincinnati's a 3-4 defense, aren't they?
I think they're 4-3.
4-3 now.
I think they do run 4-3 now.
I thought they were 4-3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think those are very good points you make as far as what areas of improvement they need to do in Tampa to get more competitive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Greg, I wanted to ask you your thoughts on where the Saints go from this point. I mean, there's all kinds of things going on there, and really, I don't think we have enough time for you to cover them all.
Yeah.
So, if you just want to hit a couple of the major things, that'd be good.
Let's take it the whole Sean Payton issue. Let's say Drew Brees does come back. None of that. Because I think the likelihood that they don't move because of the fact he still has 2 years on his contract.
Yeah.
If he didn't have 2 years on his contract, I think that's a little
different,
a little easier to move.
Yeah.
He'll probably be gone. But I mean, because he got 2 years on his contract, that's something the owners got to consider and all that stuff. But anyway, let's say he does stay and all that. When you're coming in as far as the draft and everything, they got to get another riding partner with Cameron Jordan, either like a defensive tackle or another defensive end or something like that on the line.
Somebody up front.
Somebody up front. They still got to get that line, to help Jordan out, to, be another attack guy that can come out there. I think with the linebackers, we still might, if we can get a good linebacker in there, another couple. We still need to upgrade at linebacker because we still got some other lines for depth, harder for depth, some of it for just new starters, spots here and there. And like I said, even in secondary, I mean, here and there, we're picking up players there. And so, I mean, because pretty much all 3 levels, you can, whoever probably the best player available that you can find or whatever, you can probably pick in that
defensive side of the ball. You can find the play.
Offensive side of the ball, I think at guard position is still a question a little bit. It depends because, with Andres Pete, do we keep him at tackle? I mean, right now he's been playing very well at guard, actually.
Yes.
So, I mean, the likelihood they probably still might put him at tackle and maybe play street, maybe. But, I mean, depends on what they get in the draft for guards. You know what I'm saying? What they may get there. Or they may keep him there and maybe they get another tackle and put him in street's place. I don't know. But, I mean, on the line, still need some work. They still got at least a couple more spots in the line that they need to work on.
Sure. Did you like the play of Pete at guard?
They need a really big, because, I mean, don't get me wrong, nothing against Brandon Cooks. The fact that he's a smaller receiver, you know what I mean? I think if they can get him a good, big, good size, 6'2", 6'3", 6'5", whatever receiver, good size, who could be a number one, a good threat.
Opposite him.
Right, to opposite him, right. Now I think you really got something because with Snead there, and I think even still with Coleman, you now can that wide receiver will be a little bit more of a threat.
Coleman's a big guy. Coleman's a big dude.
He's a big guy. He's 6'6". He's 6'6".
Yeah, he's
so I mean, yeah, he's 6'6", and he's but he's still coming along. But he's actually lately been playing. He's actually, you can feel like he's catching on. He's really catching on now. Because early on in the season, I'm not sure exactly if he was catching on and everything. But I think he's actually he's getting the feel of it now a little bit. He's playing better and he's blocked well and everything like that. But I think just at least 1 or 2 good receivers more added to the crew will help them a lot. Will help them a lot. So I mean, I think those are the spots really. And I mean, if they can find another dynamic tight end, that's fine. But I mean, the guys they have are pretty solid.
Yeah, Watson's done a fantastic job. I think he's done a fantastic job.
Yeah, Watson's done well, and I think Hill hasn't been used as much, but Hill is not a bad receiver. And I think even Hunamawani is actually not a bad receiver. He's pretty good to receive. He's a receiver, but he also very good at blocking and doing other stuff as well. So, like on offense, not as, but there's some spots.
Aaron, what do you see as an outsider, a fan of the Falcons, what do you see as an outsider that is the biggest hole on the team that the Saints should look to fill?
Well, I think it's got to be somebody on defense. Obviously, that's been a problem for the Saints for the last couple of years, or really pretty much the last decade outside of 1 or 2 years.
Right.
Um, so I think if you can basically get a difference maker up front, another pass rusher, or in the secondary or whatever, then that's probably going to benefit them a lot.
Yep.
So one player at any level of the defense.
Yeah, I think linebacker, relatively speaking, they're okay at.
Right.
With Anthony and
is Kaha or Haka or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll be fine. I think with him is just he mostly used to being because he was mostly a pass rusher in college. He was always going after the quarterback. They got him playing a little more the strong side field where he's kind of dropping it to. But other than that, I think the kid can play.
Yeah, he looks athletic. He looks very athletic, and
he'll be fine. He'll be fine. I mean, Anthony will be good, And then we still got one guy on reserve that I think he's very athletic. That he'll be a pretty good linebacker too. I think he's going to be okay. We'll see.
Team Money. What do you see? If you could take any position player and put him on the Tampa team to improve their team, what position would that player play?
You said Tampa?
Yeah, for the Bucks.
Probably a corner. Just because Sterling Moore and that other guy is not going to get it done. And both the guys you walked into the year starting are both backup now, and Burner and Jonathan
Banks.
Burner.
Yeah, Banks. Yeah.
So you think a corner guy? Okay, I definitely could see that. That would surely help.
Well, they don't have a corner. They really don't have a corner that anybody can be scared of. To be honest, they don't have a corner that anybody's scared of.
Right.
Really, nobody in that whole secondary. I mean, because Chris Conte's okay. He's average, but he's not.
Right.
Well, no, nobody in this whole secondary. But I'm just saying, as far as when you're talking about corner, at that corner position, you're right. None of the corners there, nobody really scared anyone.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see where these GMs make their moves at this offseason. Of course, the division is going to want to be more competitive, and I think it's going to be harder for the Panthers next year to. Despite where they end up finishing this season, teams are really truly going to be gunning for the Panthers, and I think you're going to see a lot of teams sort of following the template that the Panthers have set, and you're going to see teams building that way. At least that's my thought.
They'll be talking about doing it, but as far as actually doing it, I don't think so. I mean, all offseason, how long did we have to hear the teams say they were going to run the ball and play better defense and get more physical this year with no Jimmy Graham?
Right. And I know that's what the mantra was for Quinn there in Atlanta. Was defense, get after the ball, be tough, that kind of thing. But I think more for him it's a personnel issue. And speaking of Atlanta, let's talk about the Panthers-Falcons game. Really, who would have guessed this score? I would have thought. We knew it was. I don't think anybody picked a close game.
No.
But nobody picked a shutout. Nobody picked a shutout, and I don't think anyone expected Carolina to come out and dominate in the first quarter like they did. Scored on the first 3 drives, 260 yards in the first quarter. Cam looked like a man playing with boys. And in my opinion, the best thing about that first quarter was that Ted Ginn did his very best Chris Carter imitation, and he only caught touchdowns. That's all the man did was catch touchdowns for that game. The defense showed up, and I really believe they showed why they are the heartbeat of this Carolina Panthers team. I asked, is this team capable of losing again this season? Can this team be beat? What do you say today is?
I think the best shot all year will probably be Week 17 against Tampa. A lot of people are saying the Giants, but I don't think so because we're still playing for something right now. But that Bucks, man, I feel like
You felt like the game was what?
I said I feel like if we lose any, it'll be the Tampa game.
Because it's the last game of the year and we're resting our guys, or because we are anticipating going undefeated and we're going to kind of look beyond the Bucks?
It's a division game.
From the way I understand it, Lon's plan is he's going to let the starters play at least parts of every game. He doesn't want to totally sit them out and mess up the rhythm.
Right.
Just because he said the 85 team, they rested and they felt like they were kind of rusty once the playoffs started.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, whether it's we get up big like this past game and they got the rest, I'm hoping it'll be like that. But will it? I don't know. But I feel like Tampa, Winston definitely now is not the Winston that threw 4 interceptions.
No way. Yeah, I see your point. You know, maybe we don't get a big enough lead and Ron still pulls them out despite being in a very close competitive game. But to go 16-0 is not the goal of this team. I think they've stated that often. The goal of this team is to go to the Super Bowl and win the whole thing. And
that's the goal, but any time you get a chance at history, I think you should take it.
Right, and I agree with you. I think 16-0, if you get that close, you really should go for it. But if I would rather lose the game, the last game of the year, than anyone get hurt. Any key player, you know, we lost Ben Wickery.
That's a fan and a media thing. Because we don't worry about Cam getting hurt, and we can.
No. Right.
Why do we put that little
disclaimer
or little something on it because it's week 17 now, he may get hurt? As much as we run Cam, we should have been worried about one.
Right. You're right.
I mean, because we pretty much been knowing we were going to the playoffs for a long time.
Right, and I think it's just because we're right there, we're so close. You know, you play the guys the whole game, you win, you get 16-0, but you have kind of a freakish Ben Wickery thing happen to one of the guys, and then you start second guessing. Oh, you know, you should have pulled him out in the start of the third quarter, or you know, let him play till the start of the fourth, something like that.
I mean, I can understand why you would say that, but that's like after the fact, looking at it. You can lose anybody at any point.
Yes, you can.
In training camp.
Right.
Practice where they weren't hitting.
Right, and last year we lost Cam driving on his way into work.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I mean, you know, there definitely is a chance you can lose anybody at any time. You just hate to do it and then have it happen. But I understand your point.
We didn't have but so many corners on our roster. You can't sit all your corners unless, I don't know, you're going to put linebackers at corner or safeties at corner.
Right.
We only had 5 corners on the roster. No, 4, because Tillman was out.
Right. He was inactive for that game.
And Colin Jones was hurt.
Well, you know, you're right. I think you got to go for it because it is a chance to make history, and at the same time, you know, Cam Newton can get hurt, get rolling out of bed and slipping on his PS4 controller or something like that. You know, I understand that.
Players feel the same way because I was watching on NFL Network and they were asking 2 dudes that's like on everything now, Ike Taylor and Jones Drew.
Okay.
And they were like, yeah, don't pull no Tony Dungy on me. Because, you know, the Colts,
they did the same thing.
14 wins every year, and then you and all of them.
Chicago Bears did the same thing when Ron Rivera was with Lovie Smith, too.
Yeah.
Wasn't that 05?
Whenever they went to the Super Bowl, or it wasn't the Super Bowl, was it?
No, they didn't go because the Panthers beat them. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a playoffs. Yeah. It was a playoff game. Well, they set all their guys, and they, you know, Ron Rivera, I think they interviewed him earlier this week, and he talked about that. He's kind of torn on, you know, what he's going to do. So yeah.
The problem is if you end up being too cautious about it, then something's going to really go wrong anyway.
Yeah. You're right.
You know what I mean? So if it's meant for you to get hurt, you might get hurt. You might divert it one way, but it might, you might get hurt another one. So I don't know. If it's gonna happen, it's just gonna happen.
Right, and you really don't have any control over it. You can hope to and think in your mind you might, but you really don't have any control over it.
It seemed like you thought a guy was gonna thought his guy was gonna be, get hurt, and he didn't, and play the other plays where it's like, how the hell he get hurt?
Right.
Right. That's how a lot of our injuries are. I know they talk about Cam because he's a running quarterback. When I see Cam get limping around the game, it's never him running the ball.
No.
It's always like he steps the wrong way. That's on
right.
I never really seen Cam get hit, and then Cam's just like, oh. Besides the Saints play, but that was because he slowed up.
Yeah, he was an idiot on that play. He should have kept running full speed. Yes.
Yeah, because he was coasting, thinking it was going to get in.
Yeah.
On that
he
one.
learned his lesson on that one.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he got pounded on that one.
So is it safe to say that we all feel as if Josh Norman is the best corner in the NFL? I have that down as a question here, but I think we sort of covered that earlier.
Is he the best corner in the NFL?
Yeah, Josh Norman, number one corner in the NFL.
Without a doubt, yes.
I would be remiss, Falcon fans would crucify me if I did not throw Desmond Trufant into the conversation.
See, I love me some True, honestly. He's a Falcon. But the major difference is True is a great cover guy, but he's not a playmaker. He's not getting a lot of pigs. What's the most he probably ever had? 3, 4?
I think 3, yeah. Or maybe 4, maybe.
I never really I see True lock people up where they might, get a catch or 2 catches, but I never really see him like making a whole bunch of picks. Even though Alfred is worse, I feel like Alfred is a better
makes bigger plays. Right. Right.
I'm gonna say right now this season so far, Norman probably is the best because Revis is falling off. Peterson is still pretty good, but still not making huge plays.
Right.
You know what I mean? Overall, but I think and even same with Sherman to a point. Not necessarily making the big plays, but he's still pretty solid guys. But right now, Norman, he's probably the best.
But y'all I feel like Peterson killed that argument last year when he let Julio light him up for what was it? 2? It was 2 something last year when he went.
He's played a lot better this year than he did last year.
Yeah. And I feel like we fall more in love with Peterson because he does everything. He does a special team,
right.
The 100-something yard kick return. He played wide receiver. Not really. They had Carson Palmer, but when they had worse quarterbacks, he was playing wide receiver. I felt like that was more added on to rather than just his cover ability.
Yeah, I think another thing, we haven't seen Josh Norman really make any plays recently. But that's because they're not thrown to him. They're not thrown to the man he's covering. At the beginning of the year when they were, we saw him returning interceptions for touchdowns. We saw him making the picks. But ever since they stopped going his way, his playmaking has gone down. But that's only because of how good he was at making plays.
Yeah. Really, both of them have said it. That's why Kurt Coleman is second in the league because the quarterback really has no room to fit it in there in front of Norman, so they kind of throw it over and it goes right to Coleman. Me and I don't know if you watch him, but in the lab room, me and him get into that discussion all the time. A lot of Coleman's picks just overthrows. It's never
Louis T.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of Coleman's picks has been like that.
Overthrows.
He can't fit it there. He throws it over. Like that Breeze interception.
Yeah, where he kept going on it, and the receiver gave up. But he kept going and picked it off right before we got out of bounds. That was a great effort play.
Yeah.
All right. Matt Ryan. People, Panther fans like to call him Meg Ryan. But Matt Ryan has lost the backing of some Atlanta fans. Is that fair to say, Aaron?
Yeah, I think I said this on a previous show, but I think some Falcon fans have been ready to turn on Matt Ryan at the first opportunity for the last couple of years, and obviously now that's been that opportunity. And I think more so than just those people, but I do think his poor play has caused a lot of people that were firmly in his corner to at least be on the fence, if not sour on him a little bit.
And do you think that number of people is increasing?
Yeah, it's not going down. I can just definitely say that.
Okay.
So yeah, it's probably going up.
Getting shut out does not help that, and
Right.
they've been ready to do that kind of sort of. But that's more like being spoiled because you had first probably 4 or 5 years of Matt Ryan winning season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's sort of like, I mean,
How many division titles did you win during that 5-year span? Like 2 or 3, right?
at least 2. Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
him and the Saints pretty much every year.
Right. Right.
So it's kind of like that syndrome of, y'all know when the Patriots lose and Patriots fans act like it's the end of the world.
It's sickening.
When you know you're going to win the division before football even starts, it's sort of like that. You just kind of been spoiled by somebody for so long.
Yeah.
Right. I can
Spoiled by
definitely.
offense with Tony Gonzalez and Julio and young Roddy and Michael Turner being first in the NFL in rushing. They just kind of got spoiled by it.
Right. I agree with that. I think there is a degree of spoiledness. You get used to something, and then you have a couple of bad seasons, and there's an uprising. You go into a revolution. All right. What looked like was going to be a season to remember has become a season that just can't get over fast enough. I guess what I want to know, Aaron, is where will the changes in this Atlanta team be next season?
Well, a lot of rumors came out earlier this week that the Falcons are going to get a new GM, so that's a big move. It's not the first time that's been rumored, but it's kind of been dead the last couple of months. So that's a possibility. Basically, everybody sort of thinks that either the GM, Thomas Dimitroff, or the offensive coordinator, Kyle Shanahan, is going to get the axe. Like 99% of the people seem to think it's kind of be Kyle Shanahan. Some people think it's going to be both of those guys. That's probably going to be a big move.
That was my next question. Does Shanny make it through the offseason as a Falcon? And what's your inclination? I know you say you hear it, but what does Aaron Freeman think?
I think at the bare minimum, they're going to bring in somebody new as like a quote-unquote consultant or something like that, just to basically – because what's happened is basically Shanahan was given full reign of the offense with – basically, he hired a bunch of assistants, like the quarterback coach, not the wide receiver coach, but like a bunch of other assistants or guys that he's worked with in Washington or in Cleveland. And I think what's going to end up happening, basically Dan Quinn took a hands-off approach and basically gave him the keys to the kingdom on the offense. And so I think at the very minimum, he's going to bring in somebody that Dan Quinn trusts to sort of be a balancing act in the on the sidelines, to just basically have some input so Shanahan doesn't have like a complete monopoly on the offense, because obviously the results, you look at them this year, haven't been very good. So I think that at the minimum, but I do think as we get closer to the end of the season, if the Falcons really can't get out of this offensive funk that they've been in for about 2 months now, with each game where the Falcons offense struggles, I think the odds go up that Shanahan's going to get the axe. So, I mean, especially this upcoming week against Jacksonville, where there's really no corner that the Jaguars have that should be able to check Julio Jones. So the Falcons offense should be able to be productive, at least just by getting Julio the ball. Mm-hmm. And if they, have another 14 or 17-point game, given that circumstance, I think it's probably going to be the sort of death knell for Kyle Shanahan.
Even if y'all win, like let's say y'all won 17-14.
I mean, like, yeah, it's gonna be hard. I mean, a win really. I think a lot of the criticism is because of the losses, and as people say, when you win, it cures a lot of your problems. So it probably will go down a little bit this week if they win. even in a low-scoring game, but it's not going to make it go away. I mean, especially when they got Carolina and New Orleans coming up. So even if they do win, people won't rip him as hard this week, but basically he'll have to build off of it the next 2 weeks. So, he's basically coaching for his job at this point, I think.
I was going to say, too, if you're talking about adding a consultant to Shanahan,
I don't like that.
That's going to be a cluster. That's going to be an absolute cluster. I mean,
I don't
remember
like
now, the Saints kind of made that same mistake adding Dennis Allen in with Rob Ryan, when they should have went ahead and just got rid of Rob Ryan and just brought Allen in and had him run the defense and got it over with. Everybody knew it was coming. You know what I mean? But they just had to keep giving Ryan enough rope to hang himself. And what it ended up is that now we're out of the damn playoff picture when we probably could have been in the playoff picture if we went ahead and just got rid of Rob Ryan in the first place. If you do that to Shanahan and you wait till like the bye week or something like that to eventually kick him off the ship, you're gonna end up the same way that we ended up this year. It was an absolute complete mistake. Don't do that shit. You either let that dude go or you keep that dude. But do not bring in no consultant. Don't do any of that. I'm just giving you advice. And I don't know why I'm doing it to Atlanta. Well, I'm concerned you can burn alive and hit the ground.
I definitely.
But I'm just saying that's just insane. Don't do it. We did it. I'm gonna tell you now from firsthand experience. It's a cluster.
What I wanna ask Aaron is I remember you telling me, Kyle Shanahan, it is his way or no way.
That's what I'm saying. You can't put a consultant to a guy like that.
Everybody's telling him to do things this way, to do things that way, and he's like, forget you guys, I'm doing it my way. So if you bring a consultant in,
Shanahan would quit before he would take it.
How about this?
What I say about
RG3 and ask him about Kyle Shanahan. Call RG3.
I say it every week about Shanahan. Shanahan has his dad's pride without the
legacy.
Before you take him with a consultant, he would. In my opinion, I think he would. This is the same guy who told his team and the media that we're going to throw it to Julio. We don't really care. When Roddy's out in the media saying, "Hey, I mean, I wish I could have had a ball more." Right? If he's not going to respect Roddy, and Roddy's probably the most respected Falcon, the longest Falcon.
He is there.
And the consultant idea, I definitely agree with Greg, because to me it's like, think about it in your life. If you were working and somebody tells your boss, well, if you don't keep producing, we got this guy right here, you know what I'm saying? He's ready to go. He's ready to do what I asked him to do, everything I tell him to do. You would be looking over your shoulder the whole time you're working. You wouldn't even be able to work, with the same freedom, with the same
confidence.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So again, I go to you, Aaron, and say your feelings on this and your thoughts.
Well, I think you got to give him another year. Personally, I just think, I don't think the Falcons' offense has been as terrible as is been billed to be. It certainly has been underwhelming, but I think a lot of it has to do with personnel. I think a lot of it has to do with Matt Ryan playing in a new system for really the first time since he's been in Atlanta. Like when we hired Dirk Cutter, he didn't really change the system from what Mike Mularkey. He just kind of tweaked it a little bit and did a little bit different things, but it was basically the same offense. He basically approached it as it's not broke, so I'm not going to really come here and fix it. And so now Shanahan is doing completely different things. And, there's a lot of talk about how there's like a mutiny in the locker room with Roddy and Julio and Matt Ryan not feeling great about. So it all sort of plays into this sort of notion where, it's either Shanahan's way or the highway, and maybe Shanahan gets the boot. But my personal opinion is I think you got to give him another year, see what he can do, figure it out, sort of bridge some of what he does and with what some of the players want to do. Give him an off season to figure out. Give him a new wide receiver. Give him some help at a tight end and on the offensive line.
That's the biggest thing, I think, Aaron. That seems like a very logical answer there. You give him one more season. You give him a chance to get his players in. You give him a chance to really go and get back into that playbook and say, okay, this didn't work, this didn't work, this didn't work. And, we did this, this, and this, and we did it well.
I got two concerns when it comes to that. One,
Yeah, I got a concern too.
the only way Shanahan's gonna get fired, it has to be Matt Ryan. Julio is not that type. Julio's not gonna be the one to speak up and say, "Hey,
No.
we need." Roddy, they're gonna say, "Hey, Roddy, you kind of old. I mean,
Goodbye. Yeah, he's getting cut.
It's gonna have to be Matt Ryan that says, "Hey, I don't think Shanahan's offense is gonna work for me. We got to get rid of him." And the second one is, I mean, most of the time when you let somebody stay, it's because you're gonna put pieces in that helps fit their offense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
To really work, it's a regression of what they were already doing.
Yeah.
Julio is one of the top. I mean, the worst you can put him is top 3, top 5 receivers in the league. You need to give him the ball deep, not running bootlegs to throw 5-yard, 10-yard passes or thrown in to. I mean, you have to get a way better tight end to really do what Shanahan wants to do. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not the draft expert, but I don't know any marquee tight end that's coming to the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You would need more receivers who are going to run intermediate to short routes, which is a regression of what they were already doing before Kyle Shanahan.
Another thing I was going to kind of say too to that, because Shanahan is that kind of my way to highway type guy. You have to understand too, like you said, Matt Ryan is one guy that will speak up and that can probably get him kicked off because Matt Ryan ain't feeling it. But also just the offense as a whole, because if they don't really have any chemistry and not working with the guy, ain't no point in keeping him. Because the Saints had to do that with Spagnuolo. The fact was that Spagnuolo was that same type of guy, the highway type guy. And true, he didn't have a lot of the pieces there, but the players just did not like him. They felt like he wasn't taking any input from the players, wasn't trying to help them to do anything that they would best do to try to tailor the offense. He just had an ideal in mind and wanted to try to use it and then go from there. And it actually ended up with the worst defense in history.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, Peyton had to kind of make a move instead of giving Spagnuolo another year because the players were probably going to put a mutiny on the guy and just not even going to, we're not going to play for him. So that's why Rob Ryan ended up coming in at that point in time. But I'm just saying with Shanahan, if he is like that and the players don't like him and don't want to play for him or don't feel like that he is the guy that's going to make them better, you do better getting rid of him. I don't think they're going to give him another year if that's the case. I mean, that's where the fine line is to me.
If that's true, though, I mean, honestly, Shanahan probably wouldn't have a job anyway. Just think about it. Who have we ever really heard say they loved Kyle Shanahan?
Nobody.
And if I for me, either Shanahan, to be honest, if you take away the John Elway time that the dad had there are subpar coaches to me. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I haven't seen where they've done anything to set the world on fire, either one of them.
Right.
And going back to the Sun, when he was at Washington, I mean, yeah, they went to the playoffs with RG3, but that was it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, either one, the dad or the son. I'm like, he used the word underwhelmed. That's what I feel when I think about either Kyle or Mike.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, because really, besides them Super Bowls with the Broncos, I agree with you. Neither one's really done anything.
Well, I'm going to finish my thought and addressing Aaron has suggested. To me, it seems rational to give him another year because he came into a new system with new players. Okay, so he had to make the most of what he had. These weren't his guys. So you got to give him a chance to get some of his guys in there to run this system and see if it can get any better. As far as bringing in a consultant, I feel like what you guys are saying, if they do go that route, that he's going to be pissed, and he's either he's going to walk or he's going to be a jerk and not communicate with that consultant at all and end up getting fired.
Yeah, the problem is okay. Sorry, go ahead.
At the root of everything, you have a top 3 one of the best athletes in the league. If you will not throw it to him deep, there is nothing left to talk about.
But that is predicated on running the ball. You have to run the ball to be able to get the ball deep to Julio. Otherwise, you're throwing up and praying he catches it. You really want to give him the best opportunity to make a play, then do a play-action pass because everybody's going to step forward while he's going. So that's going to give him the best chance to get open and make the play. If you don't run the ball, your odds of completing that pass go down.
Yeah, his offense is predicated on the play action. That's really the core of his offense, and they haven't really run it as much. Going into the season, it seemed like that was going to be a staple, but as we've gotten further and further in the year, it's just like
less.
Well, if you're not running the ball, it cuts half your playbook out. Anyway,
Exactly.
it cuts half. You lose half your playbook. But also,
what pieces do he not have to have a run game? You have Devontae Freeman, who's a special talent. You have Telvin Coleman, who's another good running back.
Yes, they got two really good running backs. They really do.
Some of the line, there were some times when the line wasn't playing that well, and there were some times where they got behind so early, running the ball would not have given them an opportunity to win. Now, there were times where they should have been running the ball and just flat out weren't.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that goes on to the Shanahan. I mean, you put that on the coordinator, no doubt.
And my question is, has Freeman been all right since that concussion? He just maybe it's me, but I just don't think he's running the same as he was before he got that concussion.
Not really. Yeah.
Well, he was all right against Carolina. Just the game was over, but it didn't really matter.
It really started, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Go to Freeman. Freeman just gone.
I get what you're saying, Joe, about keeping them another year, and it is rational, but you got to remember also, too, owners are not rational. Owners only right now, these days, because coaches are coming in and doing so well so quickly, they give you like a 3-year plan. So if you turn around, you got a guy who got a dud offense, is not playing very well, you give him a second year, now now it doesn't work that year. Now you got a guy, because either one, you ain't hired a player, or the players don't want to play for him. Now you got to try to hire another offense coordinator. You're pretty much walking the plank in that third year. You know what I mean? Because you know what I'm saying. So I mean, you're running the risk of, Quinn is kind of coaching for his job too. When it's what I'm saying.
The issue is because the Falcons have a stadium that's going to open up in 2017.
Yes.
And they're trying to sell tickets, PSLs to the fan base, and basically the fan base is, by and large, what I was saying earlier about the 99%. Like, the fan base, by and large, they're done with Kyle Shanahan. And so basically, the feeling is Arthur Blank's going to have to fire he's got to find a scapegoat for this season.
A fall guy.
It's either going to be the GM or it's going to be the offensive coordinator. And most fans want it to be the offensive coordinator, but they also want the GM to go because basically people are now coming to the realization that I personally have been in for like 2 or 3 years, but now it's dawning on other people that the talent on this roster isn't particularly good, isn't really conducive to being sort of more than, a 7-9, 8-8 sort of team, as opposed to sort of the Super Bowl caliber contender that I think Falcon fans have sort of deluded themselves that the Falcons have been since they lost the NFC Championship game, which they really haven't been.
And logically, you have to think of it from Dan Quinn's viewpoint. Right now, it's just Shanahan can be out the door. If Shanahan sucks for a second year or a third year, then it goes from, hey, I can just fire Shanahan to, hey, I'm out the door with him.
Yeah.
Right. Especially, like I said, that stadium coming, he'd rather have a team that's on the rise, that's coming up.
Because you want to sell this PSL.
Exactly, because if you're 8-8, if you're coming into a season 8-8 and you're opening a new stadium, people might buy tickets. If you're coming into a team that's 4-11, 4-12, or 5-11, or 2-14, ain't nobody buying those tickets. I mean, especially with Atlanta fans, they're not as diehard, in all honesty, because it's a transient area there. You know what I mean? So not everybody necessarily a Falcon fan there.
Right.
Everybody's kind of fans of other teams because it's such a transitional area there, like a lot of different people from different areas. So the fan base you have to be winning for that fan base to really be there.
And it's a lot easier to sell that, hey, we got a new exciting head coach, we got a new exciting offensive coordinator instead
Yeah,
of
exactly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're coming in before that year 9-7 or something like that, now people buy tickets.
Right. Well, I think this, we've really made some very interesting points. It seems to me, Aaron, that somebody's going, whether it be just Dimitrov or both of the guys, somebody's going to lose their job. I saw Arthur Blank on the field Sunday at the Panthers game. He was on the field, obviously, on the Falcons sideline, and he looked like a very, very upset man. He was
Yeah.
very upset. So somebody's going to go. They got to find a fall guy, and whoever it is going to be looking for a new job. Whether it
It
be
could very well be
GM.
Quinn because he could easily go and clean house between general manager, coach, and everybody.
He's not gonna fire Quinn.
Yeah, he's
Huh?
going to give him another shot for
He's
sure.
not.
I mean,
Yeah.
he might not, but I mean, what if they turn around and lose the last 3 games? He might just, he may very well, if you turn around and lose all the next 3 games, especially if you get killed in them, he may rethink that plan.
You gotta remember Quinn has a longer leash than Shanahan because Quinn just went to 2 Super Bowls.
Right.
And the whole point of Quinn's hire was to improve the defense. And while the defense isn't great, and it certainly
It's
didn't
better.
look great on Sunday, it's looked a lot
Yes.
better this year than it has in
Overall.
Agreed, no doubt there. You're right.
Yeah.
So he should be safe for his job. The question is going to be, if he keeps Shanahan next year and then that doesn't work out, then he'll be on the hot seat going into 2017. When that's
It's going to be a very hot seat, and you can imagine that Arthur Blank is going to be on that sideline a lot of times, looking at him sideways when shit going on.
Well, let me say this that we've got changes coming to several teams in the division, and it's going to be fun to see what they are. I want to get on to this last part of the show, and that is next week's games. We're already about 15 minutes over, so we're going to make this short and sweet. We got Atlanta at Jacksonville. I'm not sure what the line is, but what do you see the score being there in that one, Aaron?
Honestly, I expect the Jaguars to win a close one. The Falcons' offense can't score points, so I don't expect that to change. I mean, I hope it changes. They have the matchup. This is the most favorable matchup they'll have the rest of the season.
Yeah.
But the Jaguars look like they're playing hard. They're playing, so I think it's probably going to be like 24-20 or something like that. Jaguars.
Jaguars did put up 51 points last week too.
And then 39 the week before, so
they're rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's probably a pretty reasonable score. Jacksonville is very hot right now. They are contending for their division.
Yes, they
are. So they're gonna come ready to play. That's for sure. Or they're gonna be there ready to play, I should say. Next we have Tampa Bay at St. Louis on Thursday, Gene. That is tomorrow. So you're gonna get your football fix nice and early in the week.
Absolutely. And once again, and I say this every week, if the defense plays discipline and they can wrap up and tackle, because you're talking about Todd Gurley, and this guy can break it. Anytime he touches the ball, there's that opportunity. He's gonna break it for a long one. Yeah, exactly. You can't take the. I guess Case Keenum is going to be the starting quarterback, so we'll see how that all works out. But as long as Jameis Winston, I think, is on the field, and Doug Martin, I think there's always that chance that the Buccaneers can win the game. I believe if they come in and play discipline and play hungry like they really want to win, I see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers walking away with the victory. It's a game. It's a winnable game, and I think I mentioned this last time I was on the show. The last games that we have could, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be in all of them. So with this game, I think Jameis Winston making sure he's protecting the ball, Doug Martin running the ball. I think that as long as they're converting those third downs as well and extending plays, I think the Buccaneers can win this game.
Yeah, I think I think St. Louis is pretty banged up too, even along the defensive front. I think like Robert Quinn's out for the rest of the year, and they've got some injuries going on there.
Yeah.
But
You have a score, Gene?
I'm not sure which defense is going to show up, man. I just every time I do give a score, it doesn't turn out like I want it to. So I do see the Bucks winning. It'll probably be a close one. That defense is still pretty solid defense as well. I think it will be a lower scoring game. I would say the Buccaneers 24-21 in a close game.
That would be a good game if it's going to be that close. Greg, your Saints are playing on Monday night. They're hosting a Monday night game. The boys from Detroit Rock City are coming down for a game in the Mercedes Dome.
Wow.
What do you think is going to happen in this game?
Last year, and I think that's going to kind of sting with the Saints. Last year, the Saints lost the game 23-24 to Detroit.
Wow.
The last 4 minutes of that game, they ended up giving up. They had them like 23-10 in the game, and they ended up giving up 2 touchdowns and ended up losing that game. I would like to see them get a little revenge on this one. I think they will get revenge on this one, and because at this point, I think for them is that they're looking to play. They're just looking. As part of his pride at this point. Mathematically, they're in the playoff picture, but we know that, too much got to happen for that to even come about. But at least, if anything, you come out here, you go and win these games. So, Saints, I expect the Saints to win this game. I'm going to go 27-23.
All right. So another close one. A game that
I do think it's going to be close. Detroit, they got an offense that can go too. You know what I mean?
Right. And they're banged up a little bit too.
They got offense that can go as well. And
They try to put Browner on Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, that would not be good.
And I don't know exactly what they're going to, but they may put Bro on Calvin.
Yeah. He's been their best defender in the secondary.
By far.
I would do that.
The best one. If you look at his stats over the last 5 or 6 games, he's been pretty much playing out of his mind. He's been doing very.
At the same time, think about Golden Tate speed versus Browner.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's right, and that's gonna be a problem too. The likelihood, I think, what they may do is put Browner on Calvin Johnson, and then put Browner. Yeah, because of the size. Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's more the size deal. But I'm not totally sure on how they're gonna go about that yet. Because that is the question: who's gonna get Megatron? That's the biggest question. But then also, Tate is slouch himself. Tate will kill you if you don't watch him.
Yes, he will. And he'll sleep with your wife too if you don't watch him. So
yeah.
Sneaky son of a gun.
Gotta put a bracelet on him. Make sure you're in your house.
Yeah, you gotta watch him from the time you leave your house. That's right.
You're talking about Browner?
Better watch the wife too.
I'm talking about Tate.
Oh yeah.
And Russell Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Today, these Panthers of ours are going to New York to play the Giants in the Big Apple. The show within the show is gonna be J-No on OBJ.
No.
Right?
That's a heck of a matchup.
Yeah, it's going to be one heck of a ball game between those two.
The Dark Knight versus the Joker, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's what the word is. Yes. So, I read something the other day that said, and Gene, you might have mentioned this earlier, or somebody may have mentioned it earlier about, and there have been like 8 teams the last however many years in the NFL that have gotten to 13-0.
Yeah.
And like 5 of them have played New York in New York, and New York has beaten that team like 2 times or something like that. So a lot of teams the teams that have gotten to this point that are undefeated and have gone to play New York in New York oftentimes don't come back undefeated anymore. So that's just something to think about. What do you see happening in this game today?
I think Cam's gonna add a little bit more to that MVP resume, mainly because Johnson Stewart is not playing. Ron Rivera ruled him out today. So I love me some Fozzie, but he's not that guy to carry a team. I appreciate we're gonna get Cap in the game though.
Yes.
I'll say 31-10. Because I mean Odell is Odell. Odell's probably just watching wise or just emulating. He's probably my favorite wide receiver right now. But Josh Norman, he's a different guy, man.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a Brent Grimes. He's not, you know what I'm saying? He can go pound for pound with Odell. And really, I mean, I would be more scared of the Giants if they had like slot receivers and stuff. You know, with our corner situation right now.
Yeah.
If Cruz was there, this is a different situation.
Right, it would be tough, exactly.
Yeah, if Cruz was there, yeah.
You only have one wide receiver, not really doing nothing. And then tight end wise, I don't think they're doing nothing on our tight end. So I think 31-10. I think Cam will get back into that chasing after Steve Young as far as passing touchdowns and rushing touchdowns.
I agree.
Because I don't see the Giants really being able to defend the read option.
I agree. I think I think Cam throws at least one touchdown and runs for a touchdown too, at least minimum. I don't think the Giants really have been able to put it together consistently this season, week in and week out. They've had some good games. They've had some bad games. They've been in most of their games in the fourth quarter, and they just let it slip away.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Panthers come in and take an early lead, and the Giants never really get a chance to be in this one. But yeah, so the Panthers will get to 14-0 with 2 games left to be played. I really appreciate it this week, guys. We've run over some time, but it's been a lot of fun. I thought the show was very well done tonight. You guys really did a bang-up job. I'm gonna give you one more chance to plug yourselves, and then we're gonna say goodnight. I'm gonna start going backwards this time, though. Today, so why don't you go ahead and start us off, where people can find you and see your work.
Twitter, TMuhammad23. You can hit me up. Everybody knows pretty much ready to give everybody some straight facts anytime. YouTube, Mr. T-Money 1993. And lastly, but not least, you know what time it is. Shout out to the boy Scott, Prophet, the big homie, 38-0, man. Shout out to Scott Karasik.
I asked him if he would be on the show last night, but his podcast was going on at the same time as ours, so he wasn't able to make it. But I believe he would have come on. But anyway, it didn't happen. Greg, let us know where people can find you at and talk about some wrestling if they want to.
Well, yeah, we talk Saints or NFL football, wrestling, whatever, but at Intense TV. So definitely feel free to follow me, and I'll make sure I follow you back.
And Mr. Buck, what you heard, tell them where they can hear the real scoop on the Buccaneers and where they can find you on Twitter.
Yeah, you can reach me at Super Heavyweight. Add me, and I'll add you back. I love talking football. Doesn't matter what division you're in. You're always welcome. I'll follow you back. Please, if you can, go out to YouTube and look up Buck What You Heard. Check out some of my podcasts. Like them. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. Let me know what you think.
All right. And Aaron, I think you have the most honest opinion of anybody on this board. You tell it like it is when it comes to your team, and I appreciate you for that just as much as I'm sure the rest of the panel does. And we all have our own opinions as to what Atlanta should do, but I think yours is the most sincere. So tell them where they can hear your podcast, because I think you do too, don't you?
I do.
And where they can find you on Twitter.
Yeah, people can find me on Twitter. I'm at FalcFans. You can find one of my podcasts on the Falcoholic.com or FalcFans.com. That's the one I do with Alan Stirk. I do another one with Scott Karasik, who T Money was just giving a shout out to. You can find that on we do that one Tuesday nights. You can find it on YouTube or ProFootballCentral.com. Search Falcon Central Radio. And I just want to go on record before we close out. I do think the Panthers are going to struggle a little bit in this Giants game. I think they'll win, but I think it's going to be a lot closer game than people are predicting.
I agree with Aaron too. Because that you talking about a two-time Super Bowl champion. Those guys do understand how to these games, and in this game, I think they can get up for and play very well. And then number two, they're playing for a division title. So they have to win this game. They can't,
Right.
You're playing some guys who are going to be coming out there. I think they know it's no going back. They got to do it. It's no tomorrow.
You both are making very good points. You both make very good points. It's a big game, but I just think the Panthers are on a different level right now.
They're definitely a better team. I just think the Giants' defense is going to give Carolina's offense a little bit more than they can handle.
I mean. You actually see JPP now. Actually, he's getting a little more penetration. He's getting closer and closer to getting a sack and making a little more impact there. OBJ against Norman, I want to see that matchup. I think that's going to be a fantastic matchup.
That's going to be fun.
That's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
But I think you got to watch out Harris and Ruben Randall. If you turn around and take your eyes off, those two guys right there can end up killing you. So
and Ruben's a big guy. Ruben Randall's a big dude.
And Harrison is actually a pretty sneaky, fast guy who can do a little too. But, I mean, I still do think that the Panthers will win the game. I just don't think it's going to be as easy as you guys thinking it's going to be. That's the only thing. That's all I'm with Aaron on that one.
Well, we will find out and talk about it next Wednesday, 10 o'clock. Well, we'll be right here doing this all over again. Guys, I hope you have a safe week. And enjoy the weekend as it is quickly approaching, and I look forward to next week. All right?
Everybody, get out here and like this show.
That's right. Get out and like this show. And I am Joe Riolano. Thank you for watching. Southbound and Down is a production of Fan First Productions, and we do CarolinaCatChronicles.com, the #1 Carolina Panthers fan site. So check us out. Thank you very much, and God bless America.
Good night.